I just wanted to, take a minute. Casa Querétaro is a wonderful project in a lot of ways. It takes a plot of land which was originally an industrial plot of land, and it turns it into housing for people in the neighborhood that is sorely needed. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to take you through kind of our journey of how we got to the end product, because I think it's really important that you understand, as we have tried to understand, that affordable housing, the key is not affordable. The key is housing. People, a place for people to be, and I think that and to live. So you want to make sure that it's like housing everywhere else, just affordable. So it may be better than everywhere else. So the interesting thing about this particular project, if you go to this is the final project. Let's go one more. Okay, this is a site which obviously presents a lot of challenges. It's a triangular site. It backs up to probably one of the largest railroad yards in the city. It's in the Pilsen neighborhood, but it kind of creates a gateway. It has no back to it because the back is the railroad. So it really wants to face the neighborhood. It wants to sort of return and face back to the neighborhood. So it's a triangular site. So what I would like to explain to you is how we got to what we got, and how you take the site and something that might be a completely negative, and you turn it into an opportunity to make something which is more conducive to life as a community. So essentially, when you have a triangular site, there's a part of the triangle, in particular in this case, where you can't build. It's just too narrow. So you're kind of confined to the area which has enough depth. And typically, when you start thinking of affordable housing, you start thinking, okay, there's the box. Okay, now let's take that box and extrude it. So now it's multiple stories, so you get more volume and more density. Then you say, well, I need more lighting, so you start opening it up so that you can bring some more lighting into the space. Then you think, okay, well, that's pretty boring. What can we do to make it more interesting? What can we do for it to relate to the site and to relate to the streetscape? There's a regular street across the way. So if we just put a regular building that's say a 4-story building, 5-story building, whatever it is, and it just sits in the corner, it doesn't really relate to the street. How do we get to relate to the street? How do we open it to the street? So we start doing things like that. And how do we respond? How do we respond to sunlight so that everybody can have as much sunlight as possible? That's one of the most important things. Then we also have something that we don't want to look at, which is the railroad. So we designed the building so it has its own buffer, so that no units have to face the railroad. They're facing the street. They're facing a courtyard. We're responding to the site constraints and kind of starting to create an interesting thing. The other thing that we're doing is okay. Now we're also stretching it along the street to create that streetscape. Then how do you make a box relate to the streetscape? You take and you start moving elements in and out of it so that it responds to the articulation of the street on the other side. So we start doing that. We start making what would be a 4-story building 2, 3, and 4 stories. Exactly what's across the street. And then what you do is you take and you create volumes that are of different materials, so that the 2-story portion is a separate volume, it's a separate element, so that now one building becomes a number of buildings. So this is the end product. So what we have is a building which is made up of different volumes. It's in different materials in a cohesive way, but that responds to some of the materials masonry and siding. Some of the materials that make up the neighborhood. The siding, we didn't want to just do regular siding, so we found a particular material that we could use in a vertical application, and then we're able to create use the material, reinterpret it, and put it, I think to some interesting use. So, and the other thing that's really important, we have a very large courtyard that defines the entrance to the project and the kind of the communal space for the project. And so that's the main entry, and it's also the gathering space, the community space. And this, we have an entry canopy that's very welcoming. And again, the scale of the project changes between 2, 3, and 4 stories as you're coming through that. The site plan, as you can see, the center courtyard in there. The parking is along the narrow portion of the site and partially behind the building. This is going to be both a LEED silver building and also highly adaptable in terms of ADA, so that all of the units we designed a typical bathroom that would allow all of the units to be easily adaptable to the ADA, so that while we have to, for legal purposes, we have to identify which ones the units are. With very minor changes, we can pretty much adapt to every unit to meet the ADA standards. And the other thing that we did is we were very conscious of designing, these are 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. We're very conscious of designing units which didn't necessarily repeat themselves on every floor. So on the first floor, a 3 bedroom unit might become 2 1 bedroom units on the upper floor, so that there's a selection of views, unit types, in different orientations. And we also created spaces where you can have internal gathering spaces. So there's some nodes of possible interaction that happen on the different floors, particularly by the elevator, where people are going to be passing one another all the time, and also in more remote, in some of the other areas. And the units are, even though this is had to go through approval by the Department of Planning and Development, the old HE, Department of Housing and Economic Development, which is now the Department of Planning and Development. And one of the comments from the architects reviewing this was, if you look at the site plan, he says, to me it looks like a train wreck that works. And I think that's, so even though the geometry of the spaces is maybe a little obtuse, the units are pretty normal. And some of them, we have some units which are a little, more interesting because they resolve some of the movement in the building. But I think that for the most part, everybody gets, a good, living situation that's not unexpected, that's not strange. So, I think that's it. There's the breakdown. There are obviously there are 17 1 bedrooms, 18 2 bedrooms, 10 3 bedrooms, 45 total units. This is going to be 3D construction, so it's mainly it's trying to be a very simple construction. There are some additional challenges on the site in terms of remediation and in terms of soil bearing capacity. But we're taking care of those as well. Just repeating some of that, and here we are. Once again, I'll leave you with that image, and I'd like to have Rafael here talk about the stuff you're probably interested in, which is the contracting opportunities.
Well, thank you. Some pictures design, and it's a beautiful design, but he doesn't know that many of these will be value engineering at the last minute. So, no, just kidding.
Are we going back to the box?
We're going back to the donut, actually. Right? No, you know, this I'll be very brief. I know you guys want to get to the rest of the presenters here, but what's interesting about this project is it's in many facets it's very interesting because, you know, one of the things that we are constantly talking here as a board, Victor's a board member, so am I here at the organization, is how do we bring opportunities to the membership? How do we bring our projects in here on one end? And the constant conversation with organizations, community organizations or agencies is, you know, to consider, let's say, breaking the mold of primes, right? Consider HACIA members as a prime, consider minority companies as primes. And we've been constantly carving out at this and promoting, you know, the participation of our members, such as the professional services as primes, general contractors as primes, as well as equally participating MWBEs as subcontractors. So this one, in a sense, has broken that mold. We have an excellent client. We were brought in early enough. At the end of December, we were awarded the project, and we've been working with the architect, with Victor, for quite some time on that. As far as where the project is right now, I will tell you that it's probably going to be in for permit in May of this year. We expect construction to begin fourth quarter this year, first quarter next year. As this is one of the other facets I think that's important is this is a private sector job. You know, many times you guys see projects that we bring here to the organization that are, you know, public jobs. Well, this is a public opportunity to participate in. Any issues, any questions you have, I'll give you some numbers from my office. The person in charge, and she's the manager of pre-construction services for us, our director, is Sheila Sheridan. If you have any questions, her number is 312-258-9300. You can also call me, Rafael Hernandez, same number. And this is one of the projects that we have that we want to certainly break ground this year. We have other projects that we're working on as well, a couple of more housing developments that are in the works. And so if anybody is looking to come and help us out and giving us some numbers and showing us how we can build these things better, you know, I welcome that opportunity as well. Questions?
When's the end of it? When's the project supposed to be completed?
It's about 12 to 13 months. 12 months. Yeah.
Is it a union project?
It's prevailing wage, okay, particularly. There's a 25 and 5, and I believe there's also 50% residency requirement. So those are the baselines as we're putting them. Well, those are the baselines, you know. One of our, I'll give you an example. When I say these are one of the baselines, that one of the clients that we've had in our banquet was awarded a project of the year. Our previous project was St. Anthony's Clinic in Little Village, and it was about a $5 million project, about 20,000 square feet. We were able to achieve 90% participation on that, so we're very proud of that. But again, this has those goals, and we expect to exceed them as well. Question, guys? Yes, sir.
Do you have a pre-qualification?
Yes, we do have a pre-qualification. Do me a favor, call that number, and we'll get you all the information that you need, okay? But again, this is one of the things that, one of the projects we're bringing. We have other projects, and we're looking for people, for subcontractors, suppliers to help us build these projects. Thank you.
Thank you, Victor.